Now, let's start with constitutional development. Constitutional development. Now, before we understand what we call constitutional development, now under constitutional development, there are two things we need to know. Now, this constitutional development is subdivided into two. We have what we call pre-constitutional development and post-constitutional development. Now, the first one is pre-constitutional development and post-constitutional development. Now, under government, there are a lot of things we need to understand. One of the basic topic that do come out whenever we have WAEC or JAM is constitutional development. Now, based on that, pre-constitutional development are what? Are the constitution we have before we got our independence. Before we what? Got our independence in 1960. Now, a lot of people normally base their criteria on the fact that we got our pure independence in 1960. But before I conclude the class, I will tell you how we have or derive the advent of that. So under pre-constitutional development, we have what we call Clifford Constitution. We have what we call Clifford Constitution. We have Richard Constitution. We have McPherson Constitution. And we have Littleton Constitution. Now, under post-constitutional development, we have what we call Independence Constitution of 1960. Pardon me, please. We have Independence Constitution, 1960. We have First Republican Constitution, 1963. We have Second Republican Constitution, 1979. We have Third Republican Constitution, 1989. We have Fourth Republican Constitution, 1999. So these are the things. In understanding the concept of government, these are the things we need to what? We need to memorize often. They are very, very easy to memorize. Do you understand now? So, like I said, pre-constitutional development are constitution we have before we got our independence. While post-constitutional development are constitution we have after we got our independence in 1960. Now, this Clifford Constitution existed in 1922. Richard existed in 1946. McPherson existed in 1951. And Littleton existed in 1954. Now, before we embark on Clifford Constitution of 1922, there are a lot of things we need to understand under how we came about the Clifford Constitution of what? Of 1922. Now, let's move. Let's just tell ourselves a short story about what? About the advent of Clifford Constitution. Now, before we understand the full aspect of Clifford Constitution, we have to begin with what we mean by what? Lagos annexation. Lagos what? Annexation. That is, how did the Britain embark or colonize Lagos or Nigeria as a whole? Do you understand me? Now, this is not traceable to a particular conference that was held. We call it Brussels Conference and Berlin Conference. We call it what? Brussels Conference and what? Berlin Conference. These are the two major conferences that led to what? That led to constitutional development in Nigeria, or that led to the colonization of Nigeria. So we have Brussels and Berlin. So Brussels Conference was held in 1884 to 1885, and Berlin Conference was held in what? 1890. Hope I'm communicating. Now, after these two conferences were held, the Britain decided to embark or to colonize Nigeria. Am I communicating? And don't forget, the Lagos annexation. The Lagos annexation started in 1861. The Lagos annexation started in what? In 1861. Now, before we have the what? We have the Britain colonizing Nigeria. We also have the Portuguese. The Portuguese were the first people to make the earliest contact with Nigerians in the what? In the 15th century. In the what? In the 15th century. Because Nigeria was just, we can call it a geographical territory. It was not necessarily a country back then. So based on that, the Portuguese made the earliest contact after they went back. So after that time, we now have the what? The Britain annexation. That is, they made Lagos an headquarter of the British colonial masters. Do you understand? After it was decided in Brussels Conference. Do you understand? After Brussels Conference, then we had what? We had Berlin Conference. And don't forget, the four major colonial masters we have. The four major colonial masters we have include the Portuguese. I mean, in Africa, we have the Portuguese, we have the Britain, we have the French or the France, and we have the Germans. Do you understand? We have the Portuguese, the Britain, the German, and the French. All these countries, we are not colonized because they serve as the what? Colonial masters. And don't forget, this Britain, we are the one that colonized USA, United States of America, in which they got their independence in 1776. Am I communicating now? So based on that, after the advent of Berlin conferences that was held within these four countries, they now embark on Nigeria to colonize us. Now, these are just the brief introduction of what? How we derive Clifford Constitution of 1922. Do you understand now? So after the Britain now came to Nigeria with their full inception, we now have a man called Lord Lugard. We have a man called what? Lord Lugard. Now, this Lord Lugard was what? Was representing the British colonial master in Nigeria. I get what I'm saying? Because they normally have their own representative. Do you understand? So, it was the one representing the Britain in Nigeria. So, he now subdivided Nigeria into three parts. He subdivided Nigeria into how many parts? 3 parts. So, we have what we call the Southern Protectorate. We have what we call the Southern Protectorate. We have Lagos Colony. And we have what we call Northern Protectorate. So this is how he subdivided what? He subdivided Nigeria. He subdivided Nigeria into how many parts now? 3. The first one is what? Southern Protectorate. So the first one is Southern Protectorate. The second one is what? Northern Protectorate. And we have Lagos Colony. Don't forget, Lagos was made an annex or a colony in 1861. Do you understand now? So after he subdivided Nigeria into what? Into these 3 parts. Don't forget, we started having our own governors. I get what I'm saying? After the advent, after we were what? After we got our independence. Do you understand now? We started having our own governors. What we used back then are what we call premiers. Do you understand? In the Southern Protectorate, we have premier. In the Northern Protectorate, we have premier. Premier is also the same thing as what? As leader. That's what we have. And the leader of Southern Protectorate back then, we have the likes of S.L. Akintola. We have the likes of S.L. Akintola, Michael Okpara, and so on and so forth. Those are the what? Those are the leaders that were what? That were in the Southern Protectorate. Why the Northern Protectorate? We have Aminu Kano, the likes of Aminu Kano. We have Ahmadu Bello. So back then, what we have was leaders. It was after we got our independence, that's when we started having what? The governors. If you look at it, now, the governor aspect now, it all started in May 27, 1967, where we have what? where we have the likes of what? The likes of Yakubu Gowon subdividing Nigeria into 12 states. Am I communicating now? So based on that, after he subdivided Nigeria into Southern Protectorate, Northern Protectorate, and Lagos Colony, for administrative conveniences, he combined Southern Protectorate and Lagos Colony together in 1906 for administrative conveniences. Do you understand? Don't forget, it is very, very important. For administrative conveniences, he combined what? Southern Protectorate and Lagos Colony together. After he combined Southern Protectorate and Lagos Colony together, he now what? In 1914 as well. In 1914 as well. In 1914 as well. Now, the first thing he did was he combined Southern Protectorate and Northern Protectorate, Southern Protectorate and Lagos Colony together in 1906. After 1906, he combined the three regions together. Do you understand? In what? In 1914. In order to what? In order to control, to have the ability. Now, listen. In that 1906, when he combined Southern Protectorate and Lagos Colony together, he was made the first High Commissioner of Northern Protectorate. Am I communicating? When he combined Southern Protectorate and Lagos Colony together, he was made the what? The first High Commissioner of the Northern Protectorate. Now, when he now combined Southern Protectorate, Northern Protectorate, and Lagos Colony together, in 1914, he was made the first Governor General of Nigeria. That's why I do tell people, the number of Governor General we do have is what? Is much. They are up to 7 in numbers. The number of Governor Generals we have in Nigeria. The first person is Lord Lugard. The second person is Clifford. The third person is what? Is who? Bernard Bodillion. After Bernard Bodillion, we have Arthur Richard. After Arthur Richard, we have Sir John Macpherson. After Sir John Macpherson, we have Oliver Littleton. After Oliver Littleton, we have who? We have James Robertson. And that was the last what? That was the last Governor General we have in Nigeria, making, I think, 7. Do you understand? 6 or 7. So based on that, that's how we have who? That's how we have Lord Lugard combining the what? The 3 regions together. After he combined the 3 regions together, he now what? Introduced what I mean by the Nigerian Council. What do I call it?
Nigeria Council.
The Nigeria what? Council. After combining the 3 regions together, he introduced what we call Nigerian Council. He introduced what we call what? Nigeria Council. When he introduced Nigerian Council, it was Lord Lugard. I get what I'm saying?
1914.
Yes. Do you understand now? After he introduced this Nigerian Council, now the total member, the major aim of introducing the Nigeria Council in order to ensure Nigeria is participating into what? In the parliament. That's the reason why he introduced Nigeria Council. I get what I'm saying now. Now, after he introduced Nigeria Council, we have the total number of members there. The total number of members that we have under Nigeria Council are 36 in numbers. How many in numbers? 36. Now, we have 23 official members and 13 unofficial members. We have 23 what?
Official members
and 13 unofficial members. Do you understand? Now, this Nigeria Council, this 13 unofficial member was furtherly subdivided into 2. We have 17 representing the Europeans, and which one? 6 representing what? Nigerians. Don't forget, this 13 unofficial member, it is less privileged. That is, they have less advantages. Do you understand now? So, based on that, we have 7 Europeans representing various commercial interests. Various what?
Commercial interest.
Various commercial what? Interests. Whilst the 6 Nigerians represent what? Royal interest. Represent what?
Royal interest.
Royal what? Interest. Now, these 6 Nigerians that we are talking about, they are less educated. They were less educated. Do you understand now? Now, the people that we have there, they include the Alaafin of Oyo, They include Oba of Benin. I get it that now. So they were less educated. They could perform. All what they could perform is what? Is less functions. Do you understand? So based on that, that was the reason why this Nigeria Council was literally abrogated. Was literally what? Abrogated by Clifford. By who? Now listen, this will now lead me in explaining, before we get to the reason why he abrogated the Nigeria Council, we have to explain what I mean by the nationalist movement. I get to that now. Now before this Clifford abrogated the Nigerian Council, there was something that occurred. Now, Nigeria were seeking independence through a political party, or we can call it what? A nationalist movement called NCBWA. We call it National Congress of British West Africa. We call it what? National Congress of British West Africa. Now, this nationalist movement comprises of 50 members. In some textbook they said it was formed in 1920 actually. But in some textbook they said in 1990. So where you confirm it was what? Formed in 1919. Am I communicating now? So this National Congress of British West Africa combine a lot of what? A lot of members. Am I communicating? Combine a lot of members across West Africa in order to seek independence or to alleviate the national spirit within the West Africans. So based on that, after they now decide to what? To visit the Britain or the British in attaining independence, they met a man known as Lord Milner. What do I call him? Lord Milner was the one that was representing the Queen of England. When they went to meet Lord Milner disregarded them because when they got there, they were representing their selfish interest. They were only speaking on their own behalf. They didn't go jointly when they got there. So Nigeria was speaking for Nigeria. Assuming they went jointly or they are speaking on each other's behalf, they would have been granted the independence back then. So they were speaking based on their own selfish interest. That was the reason why Lord Milner disregarded them. Now, after this Lord Milner was changed, after Lord Milner, we have a man known as Whitson Churchill. What do I call him?
Whitson Churchill.
So Whitson Churchill was the one that served as the second man in command after Lord Milner. So Nigeria, the West African countries went back again to seek independence. In what? In 1922. In 1922. So that we can attain the level of independence and be given independence. Do you understand now? But as a result of that factor, when they met Whitson Churchill did not give them what? Independence, but he gave them 3 essential things. Yeah. Now, based on that, Whitson Churchill gave us 3 essential things. What are the 3 essential things he gave us? Number 1, we have what we call elective principle. We have what we call what? Elective principle. That's the first thing he gave us. We have the chances of creating political parties. The chances of what? Creating political parties. Are you getting that now? And the chances of creating our own newspapers. Our what? Newspapers. Now listen. The 3 things he gave us was elective principle, chances of political parties, and chances of creating our own what? Newspaper. That was the reason why the first political newspaper, or the first political party rather, that we have in Nigeria existed in 1922. Existed when?
1922.
Do you understand? That was NNDP. I get what I'm saying. NNDP existed in 1922. Am I communicating? After NNDP, we have NYM. NYM in 1935. After NYM in 1935, we have NCNC 1944. After NC 1944, we have MPC 1951. After MPC, we also have AG 1951 as well. They were both created in the same year. So as a result of the chances created or given to us by Winston Churchill, that was the reason why we have the development of what? Political parties. Do you understand? After Winston Churchill now gave us all these three things, now led to what? Clifford Constitution of what? 1922. So that's the inception of what? Clifford Constitution 1922. So we are just starting. So after we now have this Clifford Constitution, after we now have Clifford Constitution, don't forget that I said what led to the Clifford Constitution was NCBWA, that is the National Congress of British West Africa, the popular movement that existed in 1919. Am I communicating now? So this Clifford Constitution existed in 1922 just because of the fact that we were given the chances by Winston Churchill. Do you understand? And we also have one of the reasons why we have the abrogation or the abrogation of Nigerian Council of Lord Lugard. Do you understand now? Just because of the fact that the Nigerian Council created by Lord Lugard was purely advisory. We only have less people or less privileged people that are not educated. I get what I'm saying. We are the one representing Nigeria. That was the reason why they abrogated the Nigerian Council of Lord Lugard. Don't forget it was Lord Lugard that created the indirect true system. The what? Indirect true system, which is also regarded as a child, of necessity. A child of what?
Necessity.
A child of necessity or Lugardian native authority system. What do I call it? Lugardian native authority system. So these are the what? These are the name we can also call the indirect true system. So Clifford Constitution existed in 1922. So let's now move to the essential characteristics of Clifford Constitution. Number one, the first characteristics and the most important characteristics of Clifford Constitution is elective principle. Is what? Elective principle. Now listen. Under Clifford Constitution, we have two introductions. The first thing is that we have Legislative Council and the what? Small Executive Council. We have the Legislative Council and what? Small Executive Council. Now, this Legislative Council, the total members we have in Legislative Council are 44 in numbers. I get what I'm saying? Are 44 in numbers. While the Small Executive Council, we have 10 ex-official members. Do you understand now? So this elective principle only gave Nigerians the chances to be elected into the Legislative Council. I get what I'm saying now. So don't forget, the total number of Nigerians that we have in the Legislative Council are only 4 in numbers. Are only what?
4 in numbers.
4 in numbers. We have 3 from Lagos and 1 from Calabar, making how many? 4. Representing Nigerian in the what? In the Legislative Council. So this elective principle gave us the chances to be part of the Legislative Council. Now, there was one restriction under the elective principle. Now, the restriction is that it is based on male adult suffrage. It is based on what?
Male adult suffrage.
Male adult suffrage. What do I mean by adult suffrage? It means before you can be elected into the Legislative Council, you must be a male. You must have lived in that country, which is Nigeria, for 12 months. And you must pay at least 100 euro. That was the reason why they ask you a question that the first member or the first Africa to be what? To be elected into the French colonial administration is known as Toure. Do you understand now? Because they don't elect, the colonial masters don't elect people anyhow into the Legislative Council. I get so, although the Legislative Council is purely advisory, but notwithstanding, they don't elect people anyhow. Do you understand now? So based on that, we have the male adult suffrage serving as our own restriction. Do you understand? So before you can practice the elective principle, you must what? Engage in male adult suffrage. That's the number one characteristics. Number two now. we have the chances of creating different political parties. So the second characteristics is what? Political parties. Don't forget that one of the things which St. Churchill gave us as what, as a Nigerian, was the advent of political parties. We have the chances of creating our own. No wonder I said the first political party we have in Nigeria existed in 1920, which was what? Which was NNDP. So after NNDP, we have NYM. After NYM, we have NCNC, MPC, and AG. Although we have some minority party like DP, Dynamics Party. We also have, Dynamics Party, yeah. We have MBDC also. MBDC. So we also have DP, Dynamics Party, created by Shike Obi and the likes. Do you understand now? So, and so on and so forth. So we are given the chances of creating more political parties. Now, we also have the chances of creating our own political newspapers. Political what? Newspaper. Now, political newspaper in the sense that if they ask you that the first newspaper to be created in Nigeria, not that is not political. Do you understand? There's differences between what we said, the first newspaper and the first political newspaper. If I say the first newspaper, I can regard it as Iwe Iroyin, because it is more old, like it was created in 18th or 19th century. But if I talk about political newspaper, I'm talking about the one created under a political party. Do you understand? And the first newspaper that we have is called the Daily Service. The Daily what? Which was created in 1925. Now, in summary, under constitutional development, like I said, we have what? Clifford to have existed in 1922, Richard Constitution to have existed in 1946, Macpherson to have existed in 1951, and Oliver Littleton Constitution to have existed in 1954. So let me just summarize on what I've said so far. Under the Clifford Constitution, if you look at the total number we have under the Legislative Council, there are 44 in numbers. While under the Executive Council, they are what? They are 10 in numbers. We call them official members. Now, based on that, another essential characteristics we have under the Clifford Constitution, like I made mention of, is elective principle. That's the most essential characteristics. After elective principle, we have the Northern are governed by the use of proclamation. Now, another name for this proclamation is called option or operation divide and rule. Divide and what? And rule. Is that we call it the process of proclamation or operation divide and rule, which was introduced by Lord Lugard. They also use it under the Clifford what? Constitution. So another essential characteristic that I made mention of is the creation of political parties, like we have them. The first political parties, NNDP, the first political party, NNDP, NYM, we have NCNC, we have what? MPC, and we have AG. Those are the political parties that were created before we got our independence. So, based on that, we also have the chances of creating our own what? Newspapers. The chances of creating our own newspapers. And the first newspaper that we have is the Lagos Daily Service. Sorry, the Lagos Daily News. The Lagos Daily News. After the Lagos Daily News, we have what we call the Lagos Daily Service. Now, the Lagos Daily Service was created under a political party known as NPC. Sorry. Known as NYM. So we also have the third newspaper known as West African Pilot, which was created under a political party known as NCNC. So as a result of the Clifford Constitution, we have the chances of creating our own newspaper. So at this juncture, I would like to call it a day. In the next class, we'll continue from where we stopped. Thank you.